it's the Outlaw John Rocha here with my spoiler review for Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. Just got a chance to see this one over the weekend, so sitting down here to give you my spoiler review about all of this one. And this is from directors John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein. And of course, because this is a spoiler review, you know everybody involved with the film. At least I hope so. If you're watching a spoiler review, Chris Pine here leading the way, along with Michelle Rodriguez, REGE-JEAN-PAGE, Justice Smith, Sophia Lillis, Hugh Grant, Chloe Coleman, Daisy Head, a number of other fantastic actors throughout this film. So I will say right off the bat, I absolutely enjoyed this one. I really did. I walked in. Now, I've only done a little bit of D&D playing. It never was a thing that I was into in high school, and I'd been invited throughout many years to play games with some friends of mine, some nerd friends, geek friends of mine, but I never quite dove into it. But recently, I played for a few Saturdays in a row with my friend Wendy Lee and the great folks over at Late to the Party, our friends as well. It was fun. And Wendy's husband, Dustin, was leading the campaign, and it was a lot of fun. It's just so time consuming, and it gave me a good taste of the kind of dedication people have to play this game and the kind of love you have to develop for this world in order to really enjoy playing these games. I know there's a lot of you out there who have like years-long campaigns or months-long campaigns that you're knee-deep in, or groups that you play with all the time. And I have nothing but respect for you. So I tip my proverbial hat to you for the amount of dedication you have for it. But I went into this film just knowing a little bit about Dungeons and Dragons, not too much. And for anybody who's out there who doesn't know that much or anything about Dungeons and Dragons, this film works for you. It's really accessible. It's not overwhelming. It's not heavy with all these references and connective stuff to the games and all this. You don't need to know. You don't have to read a whole primer of Dungeons and Dragons to get into this. It's lighthearted. It's funny. It still has some stakes to it, but it's led by two fantastic actors in their roles here. Chris Pine playing EGEAN and Michelle Rodriguez playing HUGH. And we get their backstories, right? EGEAN is a guy who was married and had a wife that he deeply loved. They had a daughter. His wife was killed because he was essentially an agent there for that kingdom in Dungeons and Dragons. And the Red Wizards got involved and killed his wife, leaving him to be a single dad here, raising his child. He gets lost in the depression of the loss of his wife. He ends up falling in with a group of people along with HUGH. And this is Simon here, played by Justice Smith, who's a wizard, and Sophia and Hugh Grant, rather, Forge, who's a con man. They start pulling heists and stuff. And his daughter gets involved with this. Chloe Coleman, who plays Kira, she gets involved with this as well. But they have one more heist to pull. And in that one heist they pull, both HUGH and EGEAN, that's Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez, get caught in this time spell, and they get sent to this prison. And we find out about HUGH, and HUGH's got her own backstory, that she was excommunicated from her tribe because she fell in love with someone who was not part of her tribe. And we find out that that's Bradley Cooper later on in the film, doing a fantastic job there in the role that he has. And so we're connected to both of these people because things have been taken from them that they deeply loved, her tribe and his wife, and they want to find a way to put this stuff together. And yes, they walked the bad path in terms of being thieves, but they had these rules where they never hurt anybody, never attacked anybody, and they didn't take from anybody that needed the money. They just took from people who were uber wealthy. And it's a little Robin Hood action to it, except they don't give it to everybody else, they give it to themselves. But yeah, so you connect these characters, you care about these characters. And the way Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly and Michael Gillio, who wrote the script, as well as the other two directing, and Michael Gillio coming in for the script here, it's so just easy and accessible and funny and lighthearted. There's some good jokes here throughout, but the stakes are always ever present. Everybody is here in this film trying to prove something to themselves or trying to navigate a story in their own lives and come out the other side of it and learn something from it. And I think it's fantastic to watch, and it's damn enjoyable from beginning to end. I really was waiting to get bogged down or feel the slog of having to find out, wait, what fantastic creature is that and what spell is that? But none of that is necessary. You go along with it. As long as you let yourself go along with the story, I think you're going to have a wonderful time. John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein do a wonderful job directing this movie. They really do. And the way they use the camera, sometimes the God's eye view, the close-ups, the angles, the faraway shots here to give us a scope of the faraway lands, all of it works so well. The set design, the production design here, all of it works so well as well. Like whenever you're in any of these lands or any of these castles or any of these places, they feel very lived in and real. They don't feel like sets. They don't feel like stuff that's been created just for the movie. And so it adds an air of authenticity to it. So while you're watching it, you're able to have that suspension of disbelief and buy into everywhere that they're going. I also think the pacing of the film works well as well. It's from the beginning where this big action sequence, we see this prison, we see this big villain coming into the prison, and it's inventive how they've got the stone in the track there to lead him into his cell, and then he tries to hit on Holga, and she absolutely decimates him. And then they're supposed to do a parole hearing. They keep waiting for this one person to show up. And when that person shows up, you see that this is essentially a huge, massive bird, and they push that bird through and fly away, even though they're about to get approved for their parole. So there's a drive here throughout that I think works so well from Chris Pine's character here and Holga's character along with Chris Pine. So Holga and Edgen together just trying to get to a place where they can get back to Kira, explain what happened to Kira, check in with Forge, that's Hugh Grant's character, and maybe put this all back together. But of course, the betrayal happens. And as I said, the pacing of it works really well because they're laying the groundwork for this relationship between Edgen and Holga that works. And then once they get in touch with Forge, and you see it coming a mile away that Forge screwed them over. But when it happens, it's so stark and brutal and just sad to see. And the fact that his daughter is turned on him, you get that, like you just feel that connection. And it's because they've done a wonderful job laying the groundwork of those characters there before we get to that. So Goldstein and Daly deserve a lot of credit for that. And the action sequences, the way they're shot here, are really well done. Just so much fun to enjoy the action sequences. And Michelle Rodriguez, I mean, there's a lot of humor in the action sequences, but also some fantastic choreography. Michelle Rodriguez and her stunt woman doing some just great work throughout when she gets into these battle scenes that just works so well. And also the humorous sequences that we see. You know, whenever we get caught up in too much of the heaviness of the stakes of everything they're going through, we get these fun action slash funny sequences, right? We get that scene where they're interrogating the guys in the graveyard from the battle to try to get to this crown, or this helmet rather, that's going to be used in the final battle. And those, you have to ask 5 questions. Why? It's kind of arbitrary. I don't know. This is the rules. I just play by the rules. So seeing those back and forth that are really funny in the cemetery as well. I mean, Bradley Cooper's character is not what you would initially expect Holga to be in love with. So adjusting with the size, that's kind of funny as well. And when we get into the underground, when we're going into the orifice of where REGE-JEAN-PAGE has hidden the helmet that they were trying to find out the location of through the dead people in the cemetery. That whole sequence is genius, just brilliant, enjoyable, funny. The changes in rhythm, the changes in status. Like at one point they're ahead, then they're attacked, and then this thing comes out. This overweight dragon, for lack of a better term, comes out. They have to fight through that to climb out of the orifice and survive. So just so brilliant the way they use the action sequences and the humor in a bunch of scenes in the film. I also want to give a special love to REGE-JEAN-PAGE as Zenk. He almost steals the movie out from under everybody. He comes in, halfway through the movie. I think he's there for about a quarter of the movie. It's enough to leave a memorable impression, and he gets them all across the line. It's kind of like Thor to Chris Pine's Star-Lord, kind of Thor to his Star-Lord, in that he's so good looking and he's so calm and he does all these things. It immediately makes Edgen jealous and brings that male thing out, where you see someone who's a little bit better looking than you, a little more calmer than you. It focuses your insecurities on yourself, and you can see that come through, which is great to see. But he's very much himself and very much dropping the knowledge here, dropping some ideas to everybody to make sure they understand the scope of what they're doing and the weight of what they're doing. And I thought that was good to see. And I do want to give love also to Justice Smith, who I thought did a fantastic job here. As a kid who's questioned himself as Simon the Wizard, he's questioned himself, he's not sure where he belongs, not sure if he can do the things that he can do as a sorcerer. And of course, he was involved with the group before. So seeing his journey as step by step, the faith that Edgen has in him, the encouragement that Holga gives him, it ends up paying in dividends down the road. And also, the confrontation he has with his great-great-grandfather, and you realize, oh yeah, it's you. You're always fighting you. You're always battling you. That's always the thing that helps get you to the next level, is getting past the doubts and insecurities that you yourself put on yourself. And so I love that we got that in his journey as well. And I thought Sophia Lillis did a fantastic job as Doric. She is this character, fantastical creature that comes in who can change shape and what have you. And her coming into the film at the time that she does, when they're recruiting a team to go after Forge and stop him doing what he's doing with these red wizards, I think she's great. Such a fantastic element to it. Didn't even remember that this was the same actress from It. And that speaks volumes that she was able to just create a whole new character. She's certainly grown a few years since It. So you can see that in the maturity and how she's doing certain things, how she's playing certain scenes. This is a damn good actress that we are going to hear more from down the road for sure in multiple projects. So bringing her special kind of lighthearted but strong energy to the role was great in her, and Simon's flirtation with her that is always innocent and kind of awkward. It ends up paying dividends down the road because he does step up to the plate. But her like wanting to be with a confident person, there's nothing wrong with that. We've seen many stories where the woman is constantly going after the guy who's not confident. Well, let's have another one where she's waiting for someone who is confident because that's the kind of person she wants. So I like that we have these elements throughout that are kind of different and unusual throughout. And I will say Daisy Head does a damn good job as Sophina as well, who is the main red wizard here that is working with Forge. She is scary at times. She's strong in her role, her bald head and all of that. And then when she's channeling the red magic, all of that works so well. And again, great job by Goldstein and Daly with the shooting of the red magic and the usage of that. When we get that flashback sequence of the red magic changing people and turning them angry and evil and attacking their own family, I mean, there's symbolism there, maybe possibly of a red wave changing people and turning them on their family. I'm just going to let that sit there. But I liked it. I like the way they shot that and brought some horror elements to this and some more darker elements to this while not sacrificing the more lighthearted aspects of the overall tone of the film. So I thought that worked so well overall. And I like the story of this. As I mentioned earlier, we're all connecting to the characters and the things that are all going through and the things they're overcoming. And even Doric, who I didn't spend enough time speaking about her, what she's navigating, which is the fact that she's losing her kingdom, her human parents basically kicked her out because she was different. So the idea of being different, of course, that being a part of it, and finding a family, finding a home with these people who accept you for exactly who you are. So you want to fight and defend their existence and their home and their lands with all that you can because you've grown to love them and have them be your family. So all of that plays throughout. And I think each character gets their moments to shine. Each character gets their moments to have doubt or to have conflict or to have concern, even though they want to accomplish this task. And I think the inventiveness within the story, as we go deeper into this battle, as we go to confront the Red Wizard, we see things get harder and harder for them. And of course, that's just like Dungeons and Dragons. It gets harder and harder the closer you get to the final battle. It's more extensive. There's more to go through. There's like a maze. There's all that maze. That maze scene was really great with that creature with, was it 2 Venus flytrap mouths and a panther thing? Just insane. By the way, I love Doric's owl bear. That was an awesome creation. Maybe that's in Dungeons and Dragons for those of you who play the game so thoroughly, you would know that. But yeah, I liked the way that was all done. And so each of them has a moment to come up with a brilliant idea in a situation. Each of them has a moment to shine as an essential part of the team. So the way that story lays itself out works so well, so that when we get them all finally coming together as a team, they can take on Sophina and take her out. And it's believable because they've realized how to work together and use their particular strengths to their advantages when they're coming after her. And I like the way it's done overall. And by the end, you're just like, okay, this is great. By the end, you're just like feeling good, feeling happy. And I think you're ready for a sequel. You're ready for another installment. And that in an age now where we feel kind of run down by all the installments or yet another film coming from this particular franchise, it's nice to see a new franchise kind of pop up and make it work. And look, all the odds were against Dungeons and Dragons working, right? I mean, I'm sure when you guys saw the trailers or when you heard they were doing a Dungeons and Dragons movie, you're like, oh man, this can't be good. Because certainly there's been one in the past. It's like, oh man, I don't think this is going to be a good idea. And then you hear Chris Pine, you're like, I guess maybe he's just taking a paycheck, having some fun. You hear Michelle Rodriguez, well, I mean, she does franchise stuff. But then you see the rest of the cast come on, REGE-JEAN-PAGE. You see this Sophia Lillis. You start to see there's a little more depth to this. And that comes through when you watch the movie. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the film as well. And I enjoy the cinematography of it all. Like, just as I spoke earlier about it, the looks of everything, the way they frame everything, it just works so well. And you're able to dive into it. So at the end of the day, I give this film 4 cowboy hats out of 5 cowboy hats. That's right, 4 out of 5 cowboy hats. Dungeons and Dragons, the movie, is a crowd pleasing, infinitely enjoyable, and super fun movie. It's full of powerful sorcerers, fantastical creatures, inventive magic, and plucky humans in faraway lands that never feels distant, heavy, or inaccessible. Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez are a fun twosome with an easy chemistry. Pine provides a much needed wink and charm to the proceedings, while Rodriguez brings her action pedigree. The rest of the cast delivers some fun, lighthearted moments, with REGE-JEAN-PAGE threatening to steal the film out from under them. Hugh Grant is also used so well here, and I've really been enjoying his renaissance. Yeah, let's take a moment to give love to Hugh Grant as well. He is despicably perfect as a con man here, and his gaslighting of Kira, his lying to Kira, to get her to be his daughter. I mean, it's so weird that a con man would actually enjoy creating a semblance of family, and he's kind of telling the truth when he tells Chris Pine that in the film. Like, I didn't know I wanted to be father rather, until I had a daughter. I actually do want to take care of her. I do care about her, but of course, he does pull a knife on her when the money is involved and when the money is threatened. So, but he does it so well, Hugh Grant. So it's nice to see him dial into playing a villain. He played a villain of sorts in The Gentleman, so I think this is a nice new aspect of Hugh Grant that's going to give him some more years on screen for sure. Jonathan Goldstein and Francis Daly, as I said earlier, do a wonderful job directing this one, and their script delivers the right amount of humor, stakes, and resolution with the tongue firmly planted in its cheek. Both D&D lovers and agnostics will love this one. I'm looking forward to the next installment. I really am. So I can't wait to see it. Well, what'd you all think? Did you like it? Did you enjoy the film? Did you like the way it went? Did you like what we got with the characters and the way it went on and the story beats throughout the movie? Let me know down in the comment section below. Let me know if I missed anything that you really enjoyed, you wanted me to opine on. I will, if I see it down there and I have an opinion on it, I will absolutely respond to you. So yeah, let me know what you thought about it down there. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did it work for you? Did it not work for you? Were you hoping for more D&D references? I think that's another thing that's great about the film. There's a number of D&D references. I know references when I see them. And so for D&D players and avid fans of D&D, I think they're going to catch all those references and love how much they put that in the movie as well. So it works for people who are D&D people and people who are not D&D people, and that's a good thing. That's how you mass market a film like this. Anyway, hit a like on this video, share it on your social media, and more than anything else, please subscribe to the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button so you see when we're dropping all the content we do here on the Outlaw Nation channel. All right, y'all take care of yourselves. Be well. I love you, and I'll talk to you next time with another brand new review here on the Outlaw Nation.